this extended version of the competition and also a new format. It will be played in Qatar and also in Morocco. We'll be looking at that. Is it good for football? Is it good for grassroots football? And as well as we will also be looking at this aspect of it, the issue of age, especially when it comes to Africa. We'll also be looking at the UEFA Champions League. The draw was held. Well, Tijan Gay's Arsenal is paired with Bayern Munich. How is it going to go this time around? We'll also be looking at that and many other issues that we'll be discussing on Qsports this morning. Well, welcome along. If you're just joining us, Qsports is back after a long time, but we are back in full. And first, we're going to talk about the Gambia's First Division League. Well, it's no longer breaking news. BST Galaxy, one of the newest teams in the First Division, but now they've been there for a while, at least for this season. We've seen the end of the first round, the beginning of the second round, and also the FF Cup. Well, BST Galaxy announced it has terminated the contract of Alhaji Ahmad Cham as head coach of the club with immediate effect. Well, this was posted on their first Facebook page yesterday, officially, and the decision was reached by the executive of the club as it considers it as an appropriate time to make a change in order to improve results and continuous development of our players. The statement reads, it continues to say BST Galaxy would like to thank Alhaji Ahmad Cham for his dedication and commitment as we wish him the best of luck in his future sporting ambitions, and would like to thank him for his time in the club and where he will always be part of history. Well, for now, the assistant coach, Malang Yafa, will assume the position of interim coach and will take charge of the team going forward with the support of the staff of the club. That's the statement there. Tijan Gay is a Gambian journalist who's been following the Gambia's First Division League consistently. I've covered Gambian football extensively. Has been part of the FIFA Under-20 World Cup, the last time the Gambia participated, and did very well in that competition. Tijan, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you very much, Gajaga. I'll start by saying Ramadan Kareem to yourself and all your viewers. And it's good to be back. And as you said, we've missed Qsports for a while, but it's good to be back again, and it's good to be on your platform once again.
Sir, let's start with the big news. It was announced yesterday. Does it come as a surprise? Ahmad Cham seems to have done fairly well. Promoted the team to the First Division, and almost, let's say, halfway into the first time we're doing well, but all of a sudden results started going south.
Quite surprising in as much as BST Galaxy is quite an ambitious club, and they're doing very well when it comes to setting up the structural basis of the club. And I think when it comes to their media department, I think they're currently #1. I think I would not say massive innovation, but the things that they do consistently is something that is very much good and okay, particularly for us journalists, because the media department of various teams has not been doing very well generally, but in recent years we've seen teams do a lot in it, and I can comfortably say BST Galaxy have taken it to another level. And when it comes to the sporting structure, we've seen them do quite well. I think the past 3-4 months they've managed to export three very good players. So in that aspect they've done well. And when it comes to the competitiveness, their table standings, I can say that the league is very much competitive. It is not quite easy for you to come from the second division and straight away compete for honors. It's very difficult. And if you look at the number of players that they sold, and you look at their short, brief history, because it was taken up by Babakar Steve Traore, I think some 2 seasons ago. They spent only 1 season in the second division when he took over, got promoted, and Alhaji Ahmad Cham was the main coach that got them promoted. So it's quite surprising within this short period of time, losing a lot of players, and BST Galaxy being one of the most talked about clubs in this country, and then at the end of the day sacking the coach. It's quite surprising. Maybe there is something out there they're not telling us, or maybe they task him at least to be top 3, top 4, top 5, which is quite over ambitious to me personally, but they know what they're doing.
In fact, that's going to be my next question.
Yes.
Is it over ambitiousness concerning the team? Because most teams would say, if I reach or get promoted to the First Division, my main reason is to stay. is not to get relegated back to the second division. That's the biggest ambition, and that's the biggest achievement. So along the way, if something comes as a surprise, you go all the way, let's say finish first or second, which is surprising, or maybe finish in the top 3. That's quite a big achievement.
Yeah, it goes back to the structural base of the club. I can remember some 2 years ago, I was fortunate enough to talk to Maud Lamin BI, who is, of course, the CEO of Modistic PR, and he's one of the main brains behind the setting up of BST Galaxy. I spoke to him, and the basic idea was to help develop players and then export them. And if you look at the brand of football, if you look at the number of players that they've exported, they've done quite well in that area. Yeah. So I would not also say they've not done very well when it comes to their competitive nature, because you look at the competitive nature of the league, you look at some of the top teams who I can comfortably say when it comes to investment, BST Galaxy have not done better than them. So it's once again quite surprising, but maybe it has something to do with something that we don't know. But when it comes to the sporting infrastructure, when it comes to their competitiveness, the style of play, it's quite progressive and quite pleasing to watch. So it is what it is.
And say what is rather surprising also about the move is you play in the first division, you've been very competitive, your position in the table is not very bad enough, but also you have at least 6 of your players that you've sold or sent on loan.
Sure.
Some of them, in fact, have become professional footballers. In fact, that is one of their reasons for establishing the club, to be able to market players, which is happening. And if that happens, the Real Madrid, the Barcelona, Manchester United, you have half of their first team. If they are sold to other teams, obviously they will struggle.
Definitely.
In terms of results.
No doubt about that. It's quite amazing, some of the targets, some of these teams set up. But once again, they are deep into those clubs. They know exactly what they want and how they do it. But on a sporting point of view, and as a journalist sitting at the outside observing, it is very much surprising, because Elijah Macham does not only have the pedigree, he has the experience, and he has been doing very, very well when it comes to domestic competition. I can fully remember he was the one that was behind the promotion of Young Africans. I think that was back in 2011 when Young Africans spent nearly a decade in the second division, finding it difficult to get promoted. He won the FA Cup then, it was with them, got them promoted, done quite well, went to Germany, traveled, came back, took some jobs, Serekunda East, Gambia Ports Authority. These were all high-profile jobs. He also coached Real de Banjul, helped them to qualify in the Champions League, and then coach at the Champions League. I think it was against Barak Young Controllers. The game was played at the Banjul Mini Stadium. So when it comes to experience, I think he's one of the most experienced coaches. And once again, the brand of football, the style of football, the young players that he has recruited, it's quite amazing, because in as much as you have a chief scout that recruit players, if the coach is not willing to play those players, or if they don't fit the philosophy of the coach, they cannot play. But Ahmad have done very well playing those players, and that is why those players are marketed. So once again, let me reiterate this. It is quite surprising the manner in which he was sacked, and it was just 24 hours after they won their FF Cup game.
On penalties.
On penalties, 24 hours later, he was sacked. But once again, maybe they know what they want to do, or maybe they already got somebody lined up.
Can we also say that, when it comes to football, these are things that happen every time?
Yeah.
You have coaches winning Champions League and then they get fired. You even ask yourself the question, how on earth can somebody make such a ridiculous decision?
Yeah, Thomas Tuchel is a prime example with Chelsea. Won the Champions League with them. The next season, I think three months into the season, he was sacked. And still now Chelsea is struggling, so it's a prime example. But coaches would definitely know. Ahmad will tell you that. This is part and parcel of our job. We can be sacked at any point of time, but I'm pretty sure Ahmad would get another appointment pretty soon.
Well, we'll get Ahmad Cham on the line just a little bit later. But talking about the JFF First Division League, very competitive this year. If you look at the table, first, second, and third, Real de Banjul, Fortune, Team Rhino. Well, to say, is it a bit surprising to see Team Rhino in that position? You've been covering the league.
No, not surprised at all. I think there are two teams that have the nature of wolves.
Yes, I'll come back to you. It appears we have Ahmad Cham on the line. Ahmad, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, Coach, your reaction to yesterday's announcement about the termination of your contract. Tell us, how did it happen?
For me, these are not what things that happen in the game. When you have a contract, things don't go well. Any of the parts that any of the parts the contract and that's exactly what happened to the from one to lost it. And then get a different time on which
Well, Coach Cham, if you can just move a little bit, we're struggling to get you clearly. If you can just move about a little bit so that we can get you clearly, because we want to hear your reaction to the termination of your contract. Yeah.
and these are normal things. As a football coach, these are things one that things are going well. Everyone are responsible and exactly what happened on
Okay. But does it come to you as a surprise with everything that you have done? Well, we're struggling to get the gist of what the coach is saying there, but basically, as we were saying, he accepted the fact that these are things that happened as a football coach. Sometimes unexpectedly, it can happen, even if you sign a contract and the contract details that for 2 years or 3 years, this is what you have to do, and you achieve, let's say, 75% of that. But if the club executive is not happy with what you are doing, or they want at least a change in formation and they want at least a more ambitious thing, sometimes they terminate your contract.
Yeah, definitely. And I think he will take it in good faith, move on. As one of the most senior coaches in the league here, you would definitely know that this would happen time again and again and again. And you are one of those coaches whereby the younger coaches will look up to, definitely when they have issues, when they have contractual problems for advice and all. So you have to show steadfastness. You have to show a high level of professionalism so that those that are under you would definitely see a man with a character of a gentleman and a man that can accept difficulties and move on, because that's very, very obvious in coaching. Difficulties would come, disappointment would come, but what is important is how you handle them. So Ahmad is up there as a reference to many of the coaches, and I'm pretty sure he would handle it quite well and move on.
We wish Coach Ahmad Cham all the best of luck in his new endeavor. We were talking about Team Rhino, at least being in the top 3 after 16 matches.
Yeah, I think this is a team, I think they and Marimo have a lot of futures together. I would always term them as a team that does things like a pack of wolves. They play against you and they seem as if they're not very much ambitious in terms of going forward. Their tactic is more of sit and wait and hit you on the counter attack. And sometimes when they play teams that are at the same level with the same pedigree with, they have problems. But you pit them against much fancied teams, it is always a problem, because they are very solid at the back, they work quite well, and they are very fast in transition. And on set pieces, they score goals quite well. And Yunus Abaji, I think, underneath, he has been doing a quite good job. I think back in the days with Blue Stars, when he helped them in the Serekunda East Nawetan, from there, 3rd division, 2nd division, he assembled a good set of players. I can fully remember Ibuge was one of the most standout players, and due to financial issues, Blue Stars faded away, and the Team Rhino project came. I think it was always also in the epicenter of where Blue Stars was, and he took over the reins again, got them promoted to the 4th division. And I can fully remember sometime when his contract was not renewed, I was quite surprised, because with the remarkable good job he did, his contract was not renewed. Later on, the team decided to continue with him, and he has been very much consistent. He can start with the season having issues when it comes to positioning and all, but he always delivers at the end of the day. And last season, it was similar performance. At one point of time, he was in between 4th, 5th, 6th, very close to, at one point of time, 3rd. And the progression is there. And if you look at their players, you have Momodu Jallo, who is currently the team captain of the under-20 team. And before Momodu Ba, they've quite developed a very, very good number of players. So it is not surprising to see Yunus's caliber, his experience, and the amount of years he accumulated as a coach here, the brand of football that he plays, and accepting reality that he cannot compete, let's say, with the likes of Real de Banjul and other teams in terms of finances, but be able to develop very young, exciting players and entice them with the philosophy, and then they play the way that the team wants to play. So it is not surprising. And Yunusa with little bit of, if he manages to get a team that has more investment than Team Rhino, with all due respect to Team Rhino, but definitely when it comes to investment, infrastructure, they are not up there. Mustafa has done a quite good job. That is the team owner of Team Rhino, alongside Jeba. But still now,
I'll have to come back to you again. It seems we've got Coach Ahmad Cham on the line again. Okay. Coach.
Yes, Jajaga.
Yes, now you're loud and clear. Your reaction to the termination of your contract, what happened? Is it because of results?
Yeah, these are normal, for me, these are normal things in the game, and according to the letter I got, and according to the press release from the club, it's about the results, and the other issue that talked about is about player development, and as a coach, I accept it in good faith. I have no problems with anybody. This is the life of coaching, and I move on to the next one.
Does it come as a surprise, looking at what you've done so far with the club in the second division, get them promoted to the first division? At the start, almost midway into the first division, the contest, your team was doing fairly well.
It depends on who is judging what. In this game, you cannot have surprises. These are things you should always expect when you are a coach, that anything can happen in the game, and when it happens, you have to accept it and move on.
So in terms of the mention of players' development, that bit of it seems your team plays a beautiful brand of football. People are excited. I've seen BST Galaxy within the period had so many fans. Some of them, well, is because of the brand of football that you play.
Yeah, but those are not things for me to judge. I just have to do a job and believe in what I do and stop there. The others are for the fans and the management to judge, and we allow them to do the judgment, and this is what comes out of it. We have to accept it. For me, it's a job I had to do, and I did it to the best of my abilities, gave it commitment, determination, everything from scratch up to the date. So if it happens that way, you just have to accept it and move on. And I have no animosity with anybody. I spoke to everybody in that executive. I spoke to some of the players. I spoke to the president, and that's it. When time ends, you have to believe that it ends, and you move on.
Coach Ahmad Cham, what's going to be next for you? Are you going to relax a little bit and decide on your future?
Yeah, right now, I just want to regain some sleep. For probably 1 year, 6 months, I have been waking up every day at 5 a.m. to go to training. I have a little son that have to get used to me too, so I just have to go home and relax for some period before I look at something else to do. But I'm not moving away from the game. I'll watch football matches, I'll watch teams, I'll talk to people, I'll discuss football everywhere.
Yes, Coach, I wish you all the best of luck in your future endeavors as you start your sabbatical for now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for reaching out to me.
All right, appreciate it. That's Coach Ahmad Cham there talking to us live about his reaction to the termination of his contract with BSC Galaxy in the GFF First Division League. Well, sir, just quickly, let's do a rundown by looking at the bottom of the table. Brikama United occupied 14th spot, Wabanjul 15th, and Walidan completes the bottom. They are rock bottom, on the brink of relegation. Looking at it, the second round has just kick-started. Brikama, of course, started with a win. But these teams occupying this place, for Brikama United, for me, no surprise. I've seen them play, and it seems like this season something is not right for them. And Walidan, quite surprising.
Yes, I think Walidan, the most successful team, looking at them at that position is quite surprising. But if you look at their development in recent years, I think 3 years ago one can say they had one of the best seasons for the last decade or so when they competed with Fortune for that title, and I think it was up until the fourth to last game. That's their game with Fortune when they lost, and then the title was definitely Fortune's to take. No, third to last game, if my memory can serve me. After that, they had problems here and there, and I think a large chunk of that issue has to do with their recruitment. They recruited a lot of players that are near their prime, played here with different clubs. Some went to professional leagues, came back, and some of those players, what they're looking for is just to play for some time and then leave. They don't have the ambition of continually playing in the league. And if they play for you and then you are not able to sell them, they're going to move on. And they have good number of players that were there, did very well in that season. But once those players move, well, they then got back to square one. And some of their young players that they had were not ready enough in order to make the step up. And I think it haunted them last season. And this season, it is quite evident. And well, Aliou Cisse have done a lot of investment, but recently we've not been seeing him. He has leaned back. For whatever reason, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure the amount of financial support, the recruitment process and all, it is no longer there. Although they have done some recruitment, but it is not the level that they were doing it before. And Savage, that is Tijan Savage, their goalkeeper was in Mali, came back. He, of course, steadied the ship because their last game they won. But apart from Savage, it is difficult to see a standout player. Although John Gomez, who also traveled for trials, is back, scored in their last 2 games. Maybe that could help, but generally it is not surprising to me to see where Walidan is. And Wabanjul, I think, the same, because if you have a group of players that plays here in the league for 3-4 years and a good number of them do not move, there is always a problem, because the motivational level would go down, because some of these players, what they look forward to is play under 20, got the opportunity, go to trials. If they play for a number of years without that, the motivational level is always down. That can be an issue with Wabanjul, and they lost Paibu Damfa to Qsports, although he's back. And Mutsaliu Jallo Gata is one of the best players in the league for the past 3-4 years. He got injured, out again, and I understand he's currently in Morocco. That also affected the team, so it is not surprising. With Birkama, I think their problem have been cooking for quite a while. I think Bambada, the emergence of Bambada, the emergence of Greater Tomorrow, and they are now competing with Birkama United when it comes to the player pool in West Coast. Although West Coast is a big community, footballing community, but look at the number of third division teams West Coast are having. You look at the other 4 second division teams that are coming from West Coast. So suddenly the player pool that Birkama was able to attract a lot of young talents have now dwindled down. Even the likes of Real de Banjul goes to West Coast region and get players. So it's a massive issue, and I think...
In the case of Birkama, let me jump in here. Does it also have to do with finance? Birkama can't keep some of their best players. It's either they go to Real de Banjul or they go somewhere else where it's more attractive in terms of pay and, you know, what they would get in terms of services. And the opportunity to even play professional football.
Yes, some of these community-based teams, particularly Birkama, it is the Birkama Sports Association that fund the team. And I think apart from Nawetan and of course maybe the renting of the park, they don't have a lot of revenue. So they cannot expect to fund a 4th division team that is competing with the best well-funded teams in this country, basing it on only what you get from the remittances of a park. That's an issue, and I think it's high time that they look at it, allow investors to come in, join the team. That is the only way, because if not, they're going to lose their glamour and others would compete with them. And look at Greater Tomorrow within a short period of time. Look at what they're doing in terms of player sale, in terms of doing very well. And I think currently they are one of the most informed teams in the league. So that's a big issue for Birkama United. So I think as a community, they need to sit together and look at ways and means of helping sort out the team. But the key factor is finances. Financing, funding, as you put it.
Finance and funding is a big issue when it comes to Gambian sports in general, football in particular, especially the First Division League. Well, Shesti Janjani, it's been fantastic having you on the show. Thank you very much for your time.
Yes, it's good to be here, and of course, once again, Ramadan Kareem to all your listeners.
Yes, that's Shesti Janjani. We'll have a short break, and when we're back, we'll have Adedarami to talk about the African Games, the Under-17 World Cup FIFA extended version, 48 teams, and the issue of age. How are they going to deal with that? And many other things that we'll be talking about.
The future is now. With Qcells 5G network, experience speeds like never before with our new 5G Rocket Fixed Internet plan. Get speeds from 10 Mbps to 100 Mbps. Your 5G-enabled devices. Walk into Qcell headquarters to get one of our 5G routers and experience the true feeling of 5G. Only with Qcell. Qcell brings you the future, tech, innovation, incredible speed. The future is now. For more information, call our customer care on 111. Qcell, Sunyabus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Qcell moy Sunyabus. Qcell mooy suñu boss. Qcell mooy suñu boss. Go, ebe dawa full network suda tili Qcell. Ni lafta diamla wati jamala mune diata Qcell. Most reliable network jumala keta wati Qcell. Wo quality man nyon sota jam ona manke Qcell. Hanibe wulo ni farole kono walante be bako na jala fayola network ko se taria Qcell suñu boss. Yo finjeka indi 3G ñu delu taxi 4G plus and now we bring you 5G. 5G. First and only 5G provider. Itella follow adi doron nesa keno. Gambia bela nyon tawo fele Qcell. Ko fasunta buka busi Qcell. Itella multi milka kukutol nati Gambia. Qcell made lori la kilianol yele imanyina amanda wala itella ka quality dila dadi ma itelle silo wala wodol mume be keno ma. Qcell suñu boss. Qcell suñu boss. Qcell suñu boss. Qcell suñu boss. Connection be bambandi Qcell suñu boss. Qcell most innovative Qcell suñu boss.
Welcome back and thank you very much for joining us. This is Qsports and I'm Mumudu Gajaga, and this is the new version of Qsports on a new date. At this time, every Saturday, we'll be here to talk about sports locally and internationally. Now, we're going to talk about the African Games, which is currently going on in Ghana, Accra to be precise. Gambia is taking part in 8 sporting disciplines, and so far, things are not looking good. In football, the under-20, this time is a dismal performance. 2 defeats and a draw. It's not good enough. Well, anyone who's been following Gambian football, they've been doing pretty well at under 20 level. Under 17, it's been a while. They haven't registered a team. Well, from male beach volleyball, where many Gambians' hopes lies as far as getting a medal, the last time in Morocco, Rabat to be precise, 2019 African Games, Gambia won the male beach volleyball, Seni Jao and Baibabu Jara. But this time, there's a new partnership in the team, Seni Jao and Mario Damfa. They've also been knocked out after they lost to Kenya and Sierra Leone. For the female and the male indoor teams, they've also competed against the host nation Ghana. They both lost in 3 straight sets. Just to get the reaction of some of the activities as far as the African Games is concerned, the Gambia female volleyball team in the indoor played against host Ghana. Let's first get the report and then we'll get the reaction of one of the players. Women's volleyball team players were too strong for the Gambia, defeating them 3 straight sets to 0 in the ongoing African Games in Accra, Ghana. The Gambia girls got up to a good start before the host found their strength and rhythm and pushed on for the victory. Ghana secured a commanding 25-15 win in the first set. The Gambian girls grew into the game in the second set but succumbed to a 25-20 defeat. They complete a clean sheet over the Gambia with a narrow 25-23 win in the third set. Ghana's wins were boosted by locals who packed the Boteman Sports Complex multipurpose court to support their team. This was how the Gambia coach Lamin Elef Baji reacted to the defeat.
Playing against the team and playing against the audience, it was very tough. For the experience-wise, the players, their lack of experience, we don't have such facilities whereby sound, the compression of sound easily confuse players. This is another thing that's really disturbed us very well, as you can see.
Egypt defeated the Gambia women's team in 3 straight sets in their second match, scoring 25-13 in the first set, 25-11 in the second, and 25-9 in the third set. Having lost 2 games in a row, the Gambia female indoor volleyball team will face Tunisia in their final encounter. Yes, they will face Tunisia in their final encounter, and if something is not done in that game, it appears they're also on the brink of elimination as far as the African Games is concerned. Let's get the reaction of one of the players, quite very senior and experienced, Fatima Jammeh, after the game, he spoke to GRTS Famara Baji.
First of all, I would say Alhamdulillah, because this is our first time attending the All-African Games, and we don't expect this to be a very easy competition for us. And for the fact that this is our first competition played internationally, it's one of the experience or the best experience we've had. And looking at the points, we weren't expecting to have such points, but then we would go back home and train hard, learn from our mistakes, and come back stronger.
So do you think the lack of experience is responsible for the defeats?
Lack of experience too, it also had its own part, but I don't think that alone should be the reason why we shouldn't. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So as players, taking part in such a major competition, how do you think, this will help boost and develop your careers?
Yeah, it would boost our career a lot, because we're seeing different kind of people, international people, professional players here. So we have some of our players that have mentors that they've been looking up to on social media. They've been watching them on YouTube, and they have the opportunity to see them here playing live. So seeing them as a role model, getting to know them, see their playing styles, they could also get something from that and also change their own style of playing.
Yes, that's Fatima Jammeh, one of the players of the Gambia's indoor female volleyball team, which played against Ghana, lost 3 straight sets, the host nation, and also lost to Egypt. They talked about lack of experience, but also the issue of facilities. There is no indoor court in the Gambia, so most of them have not been exposed to such kind of facilities as well. But maybe that's not the only reason as to their poor performance. For the football, I and Adedarami have been following the Gambian team. We have not watched them play, unfortunately, because of the broadcast issues and things like that. But yes, judging by the results, yeah, the first game, the draw, where they drew against Benin, I think that was quite a pretty good game for them, not very bad. But the second one against the host nation, we've also saw some of the dubious mistakes from the goalkeeper and also.
Perilous mistakes, because they cost the team. The keeper had what anybody would say was a nightmare. Spilled the ball, which seemed to be completely in his control for the first one, and then made a complete hash of. He had a dreadful game. And I felt sorry for him, because if you're a player and you have that kind of performance, sometimes there's never a way of kind of recovering from it. It really could scar him, because
that's one of the reasons why the coach changed him. Yesterday, when they played against Congo, where they had to score first, and late in the game, Congo got the equalizer,
came back and then
in the nick of time
89.
won it. 89 minutes scored.
Not a good performance at all from them. In fact, I think you used the word dismal. I think that pretty much sums it up, because they'd gone in there and we had quite high hopes for them, but really what we saw, they had at no point in any of the games did they look like they could win. Sometimes you can lose and you can put on a good performance, but I don't think we even have that crumb of comfort to cling to say, oh well, they lost, but they played well. They were dreadful in all the games, sadly.
Well, very sad. Let's go back to volleyball again, because when it comes to beach volleyball, that's where Gambia's biggest hope is. Looking at the performances of the male beach volleyball team in the Rabat games, going up to the final, playing against the host Morocco and winning. Well, this time around, they've been knocked out after losing 2 games in succession. First against Kenya, and also the second game was against Sierra Leone. Papa Bukar Barrow is their coach. Let's get his reaction. Yes, it appears we've lost Papa Bukar Barrow's insert there, but basically we will just still move on. But are they quite surprising?
Well, I was going to say, nobody saw that coming. If anybody said they did, then they're not telling the truth. Albeit there had been a change in personnel. It wasn't the same duo that won in 2019. Having said that, when you look at the countries they lost to, Kenya and Sierra Leone, okay, I'm Sierra Leonean, but I don't think Sierra Leone have ever defeated Gambia at this level.
At this level, yeah. In fact, Gambia have always been dominant. Even when, Gambia seems to be there for one of the qualifiers, they defeated Sierra Leone.
Well, that's right. So it was a surprise that they put in that kind of poor performance, and it's a shame really, because this is one of the sports where Gambia are highly rated, not just in Africa but I think in world terms as well. So you know, to come out with those sorts of results, as I said, against Kenya and Sierra Leone, we didn't see it coming, and it's definitely a case of back to the drawing board. We can't, you know, kind of complain about or crying over spilled milk. What's done is done. You know, what are the lessons to be learned from this kind of poor performance? You know, was it about preparation, lack of preparation? Was it about complacency? I don't think it was, because I hope it wasn't a case of, oh, these are countries that we would normally dispatch. I hope they didn't go in with that mentality.
Well, you would get from the insert of the coach, he talks about underrating a particular team. Let's hear from the coach. I think he just put himself in the firing line there.
Right.
All right, we have the pleasure of speaking to the Gambian beach volleyball coach, Pabaro. We've lost to Kenya by 2-0. What do you make of this game today against Kenya?
Actually, it was not the resource that we needed, and it was not the game that we expect. So unfortunately, it turned that way, but we are still optimistic that we will find our way to the next step.
Do you believe that the Kenyan team was a much more difficult team to play in this competition?
No, actually, Kenyan team was not the team in fact that we counting on the most difficult team. But so unfortunately, you know, in sport, at times the team that you underrate might be the team that can able to humiliate you. Is that what happened here? The Kenyan team and they are underdog. So unfortunately, you know, it turned this way around. You know, this one unfortunate.
Would you say we were not at our best today?
Actually, we didn't play our best. Actually, we didn't stick to the game plans. It was the players. In fact, I can say the players were using their own tactics, different from the tactics that we all agree on.
Does the wind play a part?
Yeah.
Does the wind play a part?
Wind play a part, but you know, this is beach volleyball, so we can't blame wind. It might be windy, it might be speed or mid. So it's something that might happen at any time. So you need to expect it. So it is not an excuse of it is windy or what. It is unfortunate that we could not able to stick to our game plans. That's why we end up having this defeat from Kenya.
How much work would you put in to bounce back in the next game?
We are so optimistic that we will bounce back. This is a champion, and champion never go like that. We will surely come back. Perhaps this might be a lesson for us. We're going back to the drawing board and trying to see where our error lies, and we tend to improve on those things.
Papa Abubakar Barrow there. Well, in that next game, in fact, they did worst when they played against Sierra Leone. They lost 2 straight sets as well. Well, like we've been saying, the coach there, he talks about underrating a particular team.
Well, this is it. I hadn't seen that interview in full, or that excerpt in full, so I didn't know he was going to say that when I was talking about, you know, complacency. And that is a danger. The best coaches, when you're preparing your team, you know, we used to joke back in the old days that, you know, even if you're Manchester United and you're going to play Luton Town, pretend you're going to play Liverpool. That has to be your mindset. You know, at that time when we used to say that Liverpool were the best team in England, I'm talking about the 70s and early 80s. That's the mindset that you want your players to go into every game, regardless of. Do not underestimate your opponent. You and I have played football at different levels, and if you do that, to snap out of it, that mental space is very, very difficult. I've been involved in games where in one season we beat a team 9-0, and we were so confident that we were going to beat them because I'd scored so many goals. I was rested for the return leg. We lost 4-0 because all our players thought, oh, these guys, we beat them 9-0 the last time, we'll dispatch them. You cannot do that. You have to pretend that it is going to be the most difficult match regardless of the opponent. And that's seemingly what they didn't do. And as I said, you know, saying that we need to learn lessons from it. Well, this is a bitter lesson because you've lost to 2 teams that you've underrated or should have beaten on form, you know, and on ranking. And now you're going home. You know, next time you can't go with that attitude. But this is the bitterest way to learn a lesson, and those are the kind of lessons that you never forget.
Absolutely, lessons you never forget. Well, athletics is starting on Monday, and we wish Mariama Guinea-Pass Bite all the best of luck. That's a new name now.
Well, that's
we have
right.
to get used to it.
Oh, and just very quickly, just that we're talking about the volleyball, the women's. The Tunisia game is today.
Today,
16th,
exactly.
16th.
Yeah. So that's the Tunisia game, so we'll look forward to that as well. In terms of other athletics, also, we're looking forward to other track events. There have been middle distance and also long distance as well. So Gambia is taking part in those. But let's talk about FIFA. Under 17 World Cup expanded to 48 teams, and it's going to be annually. The first 5 editions in Qatar, and also on the female version, where it used to be a certain number of teams, which has now been increased to 24 teams, and that version is going to be played in Morocco for the next 5 years. Well, when I just saw this announcement on the FIFA website, I was kind of surprised. With a congested fixture that you have already, players are complaining too much that they play so much football. There have been lots of injuries. How does this 48-team tournament fit into the football calendar?
And even into the narrative of, let's save our players' sanity and health by getting them to play fewer games. This just not, you do it as sort of annual thing. There's no sense to it, and I think you and I, if we're honest, when we were discussing it in the office, we talked about this kind of revenue generating thing. It's about money. They probably get lots of people willing to sponsor it, so all these sponsors bring in money, and that money gets pumped in and so on. But honestly, we have to think about the health of our players. And for me, FIFA, UEFA, even CAF, they keep adding and adding competitions. At the same time, everybody's complaining. And the only reason they're adding more and more competitions is to generate more and more revenue. We have to find a middle ground where we're not putting people's health at risk, because the turnaround is too quick. You play a match every 3 days, or that's not. Yes, they say, oh, people are fitter now. The regime and so on. But honestly, at the end of the season, for 10 or 12 or 15 games, you might be able to play, I'm talking about in some of the leagues, for example, you might be able to play a game every 3 days, but eventually it will tell on you.
Absolutely. Sometimes players hobble off in the game because of, they've played too many times, they've stretched almost their muscles to beyond limit. And at the end of the day, you get injured. So according to the FIFA statement, the changes were announced ahead of the 74th FIFA Congress, with FIFA saying that the changes follows a global call for expressions of interest in hosting both competitions, with focus on leveraging the use of existing football infrastructure in the interest of the tournament efficiency and sustainability.
I mean, that's one of the things. There's a lot of football infrastructure that otherwise would lie idle. If you can get people in to come and watch the matches, that's fine. I mean, and again, to go back to the Africa Games, what I liked about the matches that I've seen, even when the host team were not playing, the place was packed for the volleyball. I mean, so, well done to Ghana. Because what we don't like to see is kind of empty auditoriums or stadia when games are being. The football, not so much, but certainly the volleyball place has been absolutely packed and really throbbing. So, well done to them. But yeah, I mean, FIFA, they keep adding and adding. I mean, sometimes when they add these things or they expand them, Africa, we don't complain, because if they don't expand it, it means we have fewer African teams that can qualify and fewer slots, as you say. So, maybe some of the African associations are kind of clapping their hands, because, of course, it means they'll also get some money.
Yes, and talking about under 17, you and I know there have been lots of issues about age. We watched the primary school football, or if you like schools football, a certain so-called under 15, you look at the players, by just telling. Nobody is kind of an age, whatever, judge or whatsoever, but by looking at the face of the players, this guy is not possible to be under 14 or under 15 also, certainly. So you have those kind of issues.
It's like I made a joke years ago on Twitter saying that, what is it about African players that the minute they put on a shirt, they suddenly age, somebody who allegedly is 12 or under 12 suddenly looks like he's 25. I mean, when CAF did their first of their schools, African schools competition, the guy who won player of the tournament, when he went up to pick his award, honestly, the look on the faces of the officials, like, this is a school boy. The guy looks, without exaggeration, people can go online and they can look for his picture. He looks about 25 or 30. There's no way he was under 15. No way, not in 100 years. And I don't know what it is about Africa that we have this obsession that we feel we must age cheat when it comes to, age group football.
Does it have to do with glory hunting, as others would call it? You want to win at all costs? Okay, put up a team that we are the champions?
It's glory hunting because the penalties are not severe enough. If a country or a football federation allows it to happen and they get caught, 10 or 15-year ban should be the minimum. Trust me, it will not happen again. Yeah, it needs to stop.
Absolutely.
It's ridiculous and it's embarrassing. It's always us. It's always Africa. How many times have you heard Europe or Asia that this happens? It's always Africa. It's a disgrace and we need to stop it, honestly.
They have this thing called MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, but it still doesn't help a little bit.
It doesn't catch everybody, apparently. Yeah.
It's a technology, somehow it helps, but others also complain that it's not always accurate. You can see a player who really looks 15, but they say he's overage. You look at another player facially, and by looking at the physical build of the player, you think like, okay, maybe he's 25 or so, but it still approves the player.
It's not a perfect science yet, but actually, by all accounts, it's the best we have at the moment. Until we get something better, and until we stop it, and we need to get to a space where it's no longer needed.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
everybody getting honest with
just
themselves.
Be honest, but yeah, like you said, you use the phrase glory hunting. That's what it's about. You go and get a player who in reality is 4 or 5 or even 6 years older than the players he's playing against. Of course he's going to be fitter, stronger, and he'll score more goals. But can you really enjoy that sort of victory when you know that you've cheated? For me, I couldn't, and I don't.
And there are disadvantages to that, because when it comes to longevity, that player who plays so-called under 17, after a few years, if he plays 4 or 5 years, if he lasted that long, will completely fade away.
You hear him retiring at 24, and you're thinking, no, the reason he's retiring at 24 is because he's really 31 or 32,
exactly.
or older, and because it's like, oh, he's retiring already, So, like you said, the longevity isn't there, and really, it's a short-term gain that you will win a tournament or so on with a player who is over age or well over age. It's usually not even 1 or 2 years. A lot of times it's significantly over the age that they claim to be. And like I said, I don't know what this obsession is in Africa with this. We really need to stop it, because we're an embarrassment in that regard. The continent of age cheating. Come on, it really is about time we stopped it.
Let's look at the infrastructural aspect of it. Can you imagine Morocco, the only African country being selected for this particular tournament, and Morocco have the infrastructure to host the bigger version? That's the World Cup, in fact. Yeah,
that's true.
So, and at some point, I think they will be able to host it.
I'm sure they will pitch in. They spend a lot of money to prepare not just the infrastructure in terms of the stadium, but their team. We all know how well they did at the last World Cup. So you're right. They've had the money, and when they were spending the money, people were saying, "Oh, it's a waste of money." But now the fact that they're getting these sorts of tournaments, and the fact that their football team is doing well, suddenly it doesn't look like a waste of money. It looks like money well spent. So yeah, I mean, Morocco at the moment, one of the few in Africa that could do it.
And should other African countries learn from Morocco's initiative? Of course, Morocco's government, or if you like, the king. Has so much interest in sports, football in particular, to get the infrastructure.
He knows that the beauty of sports and how sports can be a unifier. Even people who are competing against each other when it comes to sport, they're also supporting the national team. So he knows, and also sport is something that keeps people healthy. If you play sports and you get infrastructure like they have, it means international competitions will come to your country. So there are so many benefits that come from this. I suspect Senegal might be, after their magnificent new national stadium, they'll be looking at expanding other grounds.
Absolutely. We look forward to that and all the goodies that comes with it. Well, that's it for Qsports today. Thank you very much for watching. Join us again next Saturday at the same time, at same place. Have a pleasure. Goodbye.